What if the greatest act of rebellion against suffering isn't fighting harder, isn't changing your circumstances, isn't finding the right person or the right situation, but simply refusing to let any of it own you on the inside? That's the question at the heart of Chapter 10 of The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And the title alone stops you in your tracks. Stealing freedom for your soul. Not earning it, not being granted it, stealing it. There's something almost defiant in that language, and Singer means it that way. Because the truth he's pointing to in this chapter is that your inner freedom is always available. It's just constantly being taken from you by your reactions, by your patterns, by the stories your mind runs on autopilot. And the moment you decide to stop participating in that theft, everything changes. So in this video, we're going to walk through exactly what Singer means by stealing freedom for your soul, what it looks like, how it works, and why it might be the most important practice you ever develop. Let's get into it. Singer opens this chapter with a premise that most of us have heard in some form but rarely truly internalized. Your freedom has nothing to do with what's happening around you. We spend enormous amounts of energy trying to arrange the external world in a way that will finally let us relax, finally let us feel okay. If the job is secure, if the relationship is stable, if the bank account looks right, then maybe finally we can be at peace. But Singer is ruthless about dismantling this idea. He points out that the external world will never stay arranged the way you want it. It's constantly shifting, constantly presenting new problems, new uncertainties, new irritations. And if your inner state depends on that outer world being a certain way, then you've handed the keys to your consciousness over to something completely outside your control. The real work, Singer says, is changing your relationship to what happens, not the events themselves. This is a subtle but enormous distinction. Two people can face the exact same circumstance and have completely different inner experiences, not because their lives are different, but because their relationship to what's happening is different. One person sees a difficult conversation as a threat. Another sees it as information. Same event, radically different inner worlds. Stealing freedom for your soul begins right here, with the recognition that the external world is not the source of your disturbance. You are. And that's actually good news, because you can do something about yourself. So if external circumstances aren't the problem, what is? Singer is very specific here. The problem is that your consciousness, your awareness, keeps getting hijacked. Something happens, and before you even realize it, you're already inside a reaction. A coworker says something dismissive, and suddenly there's a whole internal drama unfolding. Your chest tightens, your mind starts building a case, you're replaying the moment, rehearsing what you should have said. You're no longer present. You've been pulled into the machinery of the mind, and the mind is running the show. This is what Singer means when he talks about stealing freedom for your soul. You are taking back what was taken from you, which is your own awareness. Because here's the thing. You are not your thoughts. You are not your reactions. You are the one who is aware of them. That distinction is everything. Singer describes this as the seat of consciousness, the witness behind all experience. When you're lost in a reaction, you've forgotten that seat. You've merged with the content of your mind rather than remaining as the awareness that observes it. Reclaiming your consciousness means remembering, in real time, that you don't have to follow every thought down its rabbit hole. You can notice what's happening inside you without being consumed by it. This is not suppression. You're not pushing anything away. You're simply refusing to be dragged along. That refusal, practiced again and again, is how you steal back your freedom piece by piece. One of the most practical and powerful ideas Singer develops in this chapter is the notion of creating space between what happens and how you respond. Viktor Frankl made a similar observation from inside a concentration camp, that between stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom. Singer arrives at the same truth through a different doorway. He describes how, when we're unconscious or reactive, that space collapses. Something happens and the response is immediate, automatic, habitual. Someone cuts you off in traffic and your whole nervous system fires before your rational mind has even clocked what occurred. The reaction just happens. But Singer says that through consistent practice, through the kind of inner observation he's been describing throughout the book, you can begin to widen that space. Not to become cold or robotic, but to become genuinely free in how you move through your own life. The practice looks like this. Something arises, and instead of immediately following the pull of the reaction, you pause, you notice, you feel what's happening in your body, in your energy field, without immediately acting from it. That moment of noticing is the moment of freedom. Singer is careful to say this takes practice. You won't catch every reaction. You'll get swept away sometimes, and that's part of the process too. But every time you do manage to pause and observe, you're building the muscle. You're making the space wider, and eventually that spaciousness becomes your default, a kind of inner breathing room that nothing outside you can easily collapse. At some point in this chapter, Singer shifts to what might be the most counterintuitive piece of the whole puzzle: surrender. Not as defeat, not as giving up, but as the profound act of releasing the war against what is. Most of us are in a constant low-grade battle with reality. This shouldn't be happening. It should be different. I shouldn't feel this way. And Singer says that this resistance, this constant pushing against the present moment, is itself the source of an enormous amount of suffering. It's not the event that tortures us half as much as our refusal to accept that the event happened. Surrender, the way Singer describes it, means letting the moment be what it is while remaining stable inside yourself. It means that when something difficult arises, instead of tightening around it, you open. You allow it to move through. You stop trying to control the inner weather and instead become the sky that holds it all. This is intimately connected to stealing freedom for your soul, because as long as you're fighting reality, your consciousness is not your own. It's locked in combat. The moment you surrender, truly, deeply surrender, you discover that the thing you were fighting wasn't actually the danger you thought it was. The danger was the fighting itself. Singer invites you to experiment with this. The next time life serves up something you don't want, notice the part of you that immediately resists, and then, gently, consciously, choose not to tighten around it. That choice is freedom. It doesn't mean the situation improves instantly, but it means you remain free inside it. Singer closes this chapter not with a grand philosophical conclusion, but with something more grounded and more demanding. The reminder that this is a practice, not a one-time insight that fixes everything, but a daily, moment-by-moment commitment to choosing inner freedom over reactive habit. He's very honest that life will keep presenting challenges. People will still be difficult, circumstances will still be uncertain, the nervous system will still fire. None of that goes away. What changes is your relationship to all of it, and that relationship changes through repetition, through intention, through daily acts of what Singer literally calls stealing freedom for your soul. Each moment you choose awareness over reactivity is a moment of liberation. Each moment you choose surrender over resistance is a moment of liberation. These accumulate. They compound. Over time, the inner landscape begins to shift in a way that's genuinely profound. Singer uses the word steal deliberately throughout this chapter, and it's worth sitting with why. Because it implies that your freedom is already yours by right, but something has taken it from you. Your conditioning, your patterns, your unconscious habits. And you don't wait for permission to reclaim it. You don't ask nicely. You take it back, one conscious moment at a time. That's the invitation here. Not perfection, not transcendence, not becoming some enlightened being who never gets triggered. Just the ongoing, humble, determined practice of returning, again and again, to the seat of your own awareness. I really appreciate you giving this chapter your time and attention today. This one asks a lot of you, and I think that says something about where you are in your own journey. I'd love to know, where in your life right now is the gap between what's happening and how you're responding the narrowest? And what do you think it would mean for you if you could widen it even just a little? Share that in the comments. Genuinely curious what comes up for people with this one. If you want to stay with this material, subscribing means you'll be here for every chapter of the Untethered Soul as we work through it, and the chapters ahead go even deeper. So stay close, and I'll see you in the next one.